Hey everyone, it's Debbie from Healing from BPD, and I'm about to share a video with you that I made out in nature yesterday about interrupting as it relates to those of us who have experienced trauma, abuse, neglect, invalidation. So I'm going to be talking about this, and I wanted to share with you what came up for me about whether I really wanted to share this with you. And it kind of brought up in part, why I stepped away from posting a lot on YouTube, which is that my life was getting better and I was healing and moving forward and moving on. And I was like, do I really want to talk about such personal experiences of things that can be so embarrassing publicly? Do I want to put that out there? And I realized I do, and here's why. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one, more importantly. There are so many people out there that think that they're the only ones that are doing something, that there's something inherently wrong with them, that it's something to be ashamed of, that there's no hope for it. And unless someone speaks and is willing to be brave and talk about these real things that we struggle with internally, that we have appear in our relationships, then people are going to feel isolated and alone. And that just continues to feed into the stigma. And it causes us to hide and feel like we have to retreat and be ashamed or embarrassed. And none of that is true. All it takes is for a voice to come out and say, hey, you know what? This is embarrassing, but I do this sometimes, or I notice this about myself, and it's something that I want to work on. And then that allows you and other people watching this video to say, okay, I'm not alone in this. I'm not a horrible, nasty person. There's reasons why I do the things I do, and it's possible to become mindfully aware of them and to shift and change them. So although this feels a little embarrassing or a little bit vulnerable to share, I am going to share about interrupting my husband. And you might notice this come up with significant others in your life or with other people. So go ahead and give it a watch. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you relate, if it was helpful to you in any way. And one thing I wanted to mention that didn't occur to me when I was making this particular video, but that I've noticed before and also mentioned before, is that sometimes interrupting can also be, because I'm not going to talk about this in this video, but I just want to mention it as well, it can also be from this root fear of not being heard, worrying that we won't have a chance to express ourselves, we won't have a chance to have our voice heard, so we jump in. And this can be for a lot of reasons, similar to what I said at the top of this video, but also it could be that you were the youngest child in a large family and there were real environmental reasons why you weren't able to get your word in or to express your opinion. So that's one possible reason why we interrupt. Here's another one. Let me know what you think.
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well today. I am out here getting some self-care and some physical movement out in this beauty, and I hope that you have a refuge, someplace in nature where you can also do the same. There are so many DBT skills that we can practice simultaneously and both consciously and unconsciously in terms of a lot of things that we would intuitively do out in nature are categorized as DBT skills. So I can talk more about that in another video if you'd like. But I wanted to let you in on a conversation I had with my husband on the way over here because I think it may benefit you, possibly, if you can relate to the issue that I'm going to share. So I have noticed that with my partner, and this has happened with other partners in the past, I have a tendency, if they start to tell me something, especially if it's explaining something, it's usually if it's explaining something, I will get kind of put off by that and almost have this, what seems like an instantaneous reaction of interrupting because I assume I know what they're going to say and I don't want them to explain it to me, or as some people say, mansplain, right? I realized today when he brought this to my attention, well, let me back it up. He said to me, I often listen very carefully when you speak to me and try to figure out what you're trying to say rather than assume that I know what you're going to say. And I pause and then I respond to you. And I thought about it for a second. I say, I really need to work on that. I don't do that with you. I think I do it with other people, but interestingly not with partners. And that is not so unusual, actually. A lot of the patterns that we learned in childhood or issues that we had with our parents end up being the things that come up as issues that we need to work through and heal through in our romantic relationships later in life, interestingly. And so I thought about it and I realized I really don't do that. I do kind of go on the defense and anticipate that I know what he's going to say, and I'll just kind of like interrupt and say, oh yeah, I know, da 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 da. And then sometimes I'm right, a lot of times I'm wrong. And so I said, yeah, I do need to work on this. And I realized where it came from. And it's like one of those aha moments. You know what I'm talking about, when you kind of realize like that first of all you actually have this illumination on an issue that you may not have given thought to before, and it's very, very powerful to realize that, oh wow, I do that, right? And we can get caught up in self-judgment and blaming and all sorts of things, or we can get curious about it with a non-judgmental stance, which is a DBT skill. We can become mindful about it, which is a DBT skill. And we can say, isn't that interesting? Like, I don't like that I do that. I don't want to do it. I wonder where that's from. And we don't always get an answer, and we don't always get an answer quickly, even if we do get one. But I did in this situation. Sometimes we do. And I realized that as a child, at age 13, I went into foster care and group homes and had a lot of different foster parents and group home adults telling me what to do, telling me how to do it. And I was a stubborn teenager, and I basically did not like to have things explained to me. So when people would do that, I would cut them off and say, oh, I already know, and da, da, da. And that was my power. I felt like I had a sense of control over the situation. And that, of course, inevitably became a habit, and now it's showing up today. So my work is to become mindful when someone else is speaking. Like I said, I don't really see it happening as much with other people as I do my partner. So when he is speaking and I, let's say, am somewhat emotionally less resilient or a little bit more emotionally depleted or tired or hungry or whatever our vulnerability factors are in the moment, we can talk about those as well. Whatever those are, I need to slow down, be willing to come into the moment, truly listen, think about what was just said, and then formulate my response rather than assuming that someone is trying to explain to me because I'm dumb, or explain to me because they think that yada yada, whatever the story is that I've come to believe. So I don't know if you can relate to this at all. I hope this was helpful. Please do let me know in the comments. And I just want to show you guys something really cool before I leave here. I just saw someone sketched with some chalk on the rock, on the granite. Isn't that pretty? All right, everyone. We'll talk again soon. If you want to learn more about DBT skills with me, please go to emotionallysensitive.com. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Please get out into nature and do some self-care and tell me about it. I'm on Twitter at healingfrombpd. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.